Welcome to The Just Life, where we expose issues of injustice, engage with people making a difference, and explore ways that we can all live more justly in everyday life. I'm Benjamin Watson, and today I am joined by a good friend, a friend of the family, actually, Michel Lusakueno. He describes himself as a traveling nomad that settled in America 26 years ago. He says he might be a naturalized American and live in America, but physically, his heart is in his homeland of Africa, and more specifically, the DRC. He's worked in banking, been an entrepreneur. He currently works in marketing. He's married to his college sweetheart, Jess, and they'll be celebrating 20 years next year. He's also the father of 3 wonderful children. Michel, welcome to The Just Life.
Thanks, Ben, for having me.
Man, I'm excited about our conversation. The theme today, if I could give today a theme, it really would be really having a proper perspective of what's happening in the DRC, thinking about how we can all work together, number one, to address the problems, to understand them, to challenge ourselves. Because for a lot of people watching, for myself included, what's happening in Congo is kind of out of sight, out of mind. Like a lot of people just don't know. And every once in a while, you flip through social media and you'll see some sort of statistic, or you see this atrocity that's happening, and you wonder, is this really real? So I'm excited about our conversation because you're from the area, your heart's there, you have family there, and you're still active really with what's happening. So let's start here. Let's get to know Michel a bit. You said your heart's in Africa. Tell me, how long did you live in Congo? When did you leave? And maybe the first question is, I'm gonna go and get this out the way. Yep. Because I sometimes mess up and say different things. I say the DRC, I say Congo. There's 2 different countries in Africa that have that name. Am I right? Are there 2 different countries, or what's the proper way to talk about the region?
Well, there's 2 different countries.
Okay.
There's Congo, Brazzaville, and Congo, Kinshasa, and we are all originally part of the Kingdom of Congo, and we became Congo, the Republic of Congo, and originally the DRC was also called Zaire. So in 1972, President Mobutu at the time decided to change our name to Zaire. We are separated by the Congo River, the 2 countries, and we're also known to have the closest capital from each other around the world.
The closest capitals,
geographically. Geographically, strictly separated by the big Congo River, yes. But we are one of the same. We are part of the Bantus, and as much as we like to crack up on each other, we are brothers.
So really, it's colonization really that makes the 2 countries. You're one Bantu people, as you mentioned before.
Correct.
So your background, is your family still there? Like, how long did you live in DRC? Tell me your story. When did you leave?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 7. So
7.
If you peel back, I left Congo. I was 11. I then came to America. I was 19. But what rooted us to Congo is our pride for the country. And I am one that left, but also my brothers and sisters left. And we all decided at some point that it was time to come back. So I am one of 3 that's still outside the country. I have 3 others that are in the country. And unfortunately, I had a brother that passed away. But Congo is home. And Congo is a place that I visit once or twice yearly. And that's a place where I have a lot of hope. There's no place like home, and when you leave, you always want to go back. And while America now is also home, there is this fiber within me that makes me want to go back, want to contribute, want to make a difference, and that's primarily the reason why I go back. I'm also a father of 3, so making sure that my kids stay connected and understand who they are and what makes them tick, why they are the way they behave, and all that is one of the reasons why I always go back and want to make sure that not only we're talking about Congo, but Congo is part of their lifestyle and who they are.
How do you walk that balance as a father? And, I didn't think we were going to go this direction, but there's a lot that's been talked about recently when it comes to immigration, those sorts of things. That's a really hot topic, and we're not going to go way into all that type of stuff.
Right.
But just as a father who immigrated and who wants to have his children be, fully American and embrace that, but also understand their roots. Like, how do you walk that line with them?
You don't know where you're going until you figure out where you come from. And one of the fastest way to destroy a community, destroy a culture, destroy a civilization is when you take a kid and essentially break him away from his roots. They lose themselves. They don't know who they are. They lose their culture. And we've seen that happening quite a bit around the world, whether it's in Africa or in the U.S. I mean, think about slavery. Africa would have been a different country had slaves not been brought forcefully to America. And in that process, we force generations upon generation to lose ties to their culture. Yeah. That is not something that I want for my kids. I want my kids to know that they are uniquely Congolese, but they're also uniquely Americans. And there is pride and beauty in it. And so when it comes to my kids, the way I talk to them about it, I talk to them about the pride of what it is to be Congolese. And regardless of what the news cycle is sharing, is telling, there's a humanity there that makes them different. And I truly believe that the change in the Congo will not only come from the people internally, but the diaspora that has left and will come back at some point to make a difference. And that's really my hope for my kids.
Yeah. You mentioned what the news says, and between 1997 and 2021, Congo received less than 0.1% of global media coverage related to conflict zones, despite having the highest death toll. How do you overcome that? Because your kids aren't going to hear about it. 0.1% of the global media. You got to do some digging on your own or teaching on your own. So number one, how do you overcome that as a parent? But number two, how does that make you feel that the global community, when it comes to conflict zones, there's not been much coverage?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think we are the best kept secret in the world, despite the death toll. And let me put this in numbers. 10 million lives have been killed in Congo in this quote-unquote internal war between us and our neighbors. We've never sought for a war. We never looked for a war. We actually, in 1997, under President Mobutu, welcomed refugees from Rwanda. And I won't get into the geopolitical reason why that happened, but I will tell you that we created a home for them to come into, and we've been since victims of our gratitude.
Your kindness.
Of our kindness and hospitality. And when I talk about the best kept secret, there's a reason why we are the best kept secret. Did you know that Congo has under its ground some of the most sought after natural resources in the world?
Yeah.
It's evaluated at about $1 trillion. So the best thing you can do...
say it again. What about $1 trillion?
More than $1 trillion.
Is underground.
Is underground.
And that's cobalt.
Correct.
Coltan. What else?
Uranium. Gold, tantalum. Anything that's essentially powers all the tools that are here.
It's powering his iPad.
Yes. Whether it's a diamond that you provide to your wife or the copper that's used to wire all your equipment. A lot of it comes from Congo. I'll give you how interconnected we are, the U.S. with the Congo. An example, when it comes to a matter of in 1945, the first bomb that was dropped, nuclear bomb that was dropped into Japan. Do you know where the uranium came from?
Come on, man.
No,
Congo?
It came from Congo.
So weapons, technology, literally all these sorts of things are coming from underground in the Congo. And this isn't new. This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, this is not new. I mean, take back our history. I take it even further out. Pre-colonization, first, the people, the resources. Think about how many people came from Congo or just in general from Africa to help build America. people resources is significant.
Millions.
Then I'll take it further back. So Congo is also known, which kind of frustrates me a little bit, as the Belgian Congo. So you take it back to King Leopold from Belgium. If you look at how Belgium was built, the first natural resources that were found in Congo were rubber.
Yes.
It was
Yep.
palm oil.
Rubber plant. Yep.
So you want to talk about a country that has everything, but why don't we talk about it in the media despite the war? It's because, in my opinion, and this I'm just talking about personal experience,
Yeah.
the best way to benefit from Congo is not to talk about how we benefit from it. That's my perspective.
Because then how the methods by which you obtain the resources, going back to the rubber, the cobalt, the coltan, all those sorts of things, then those methods come into question. You have to be held accountable.
Correct. And so, how would I say it? Like, we have to be able to dissociate our government policies, our corporations' goals, and the heart of the American people.
Okay, explain.
Regardless of who is in power in the U.S., whether it's liberal or Democrats, U.S. government policy towards country in Africa has always been the same. So there's a playbook there that's in place. And that playbook is in maximizing extractions of resources from not only Congo, but several countries around the world. Then you have the corporations that are benefiting from it. On the other side of that, you have the American people with a good heart, and they want to make a difference. They want to have a change. But what they truly don't understand is that the freedom that the quote-unquote freedom that we benefit from in the U.S. begins when someone's civil liberty stops.
So the question is that I have with that is, there's two things. The freedoms that we have begin when somebody else's civil liberties stop. The civil liberties of those in the Congo. So number one, a lot of people are ignorant, meaning they just don't know what they don't know. They go buy iPads, they get on airplanes, they pick up their iPhone, they turn on the TV in their homes. We do all these sorts of things, not only in America, but around the world with technology. And we never even think where this stuff came from, how it got here. Our assumption is, some of us don't even assume. Like, you buy something, you don't think about how it was made or where the stuff came from. And you definitely don't think about who provided the resource in order to get it done. So number one, you got people who are ignorant. So we got to educate those people because this is about justice and treating people fairly. Number two, for those that know, they're in a bit of a conundrum. How should Americans that you're speaking about, how should they react once they know?
Yeah, so let me first talk about the ignorance part of it. Our ideas are formatted by the media.
That 0.1% of coverage.
And unfortunately, I wouldn't call it so much ignorance. I would just call it, we've been formatted to believe something else.
Okay.
You can call that ignorance, but I would say we've been formatted to think about something else and not think about it.
An intentional framework about not just Congo, but Africa has been portrayed for a very long time.
Correct. So how do I touch upon that group? It takes me back to a Martin Luther King quote that talks about injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And what I want to help people realize is that behind every single decision that we take, every single action that we take on a daily basis, there is a life somewhere in the world that's being impacted by it. And I will illustrate it by picture yourself in the mines in the far east of Congo, as a little kid working towards digging for tantalum, cobalt, and all that. And on the other side of the world, a kid is looking at an iPad, taking picture and etching memories. The benefit that our kids here get with taking that picture comes at the cost of desolation, and for a little kid somewhere in Congo, any for that matter, any parts of the world. That's not ignorance. I think that's we really have to think about where our heart is and where our mind is. Me personally as well. I got to think about that as well. Now, for those that are aware of it, I think we have a duty to tell the stories. We have a duty to find allies that would hear our story. And I'll give you a parallel. Back in 2020, we had what I would call "quote unquote" civil unrest in the U.S.
Yeah.
Due to racial instability, blacks at the time being impacted by brute force from the police force.
Yep.
And I vividly remember several of African Americans sharing on TV that change will come once our allies come from within. So what I'm asking for today is not only African Americans, it's also white Americans.
Yeah.
We need your voice. We need you to speak. We are doing our best on the ground in Congo to change our daily lives. But we can't do it if on a constant basis our progress is impeded by the policies of our U.S. government, because I'm also American.
Any Western government.
By any Western government for matters, but also impeded by quote-unquote consumerism with everything at a lower price.
Yeah.
We need to start paying true value for the items that we consume if we want the rest of the world.
But that true value is blood. I mean, how do you quantify the true value when you're talking about lives? You mentioned the children.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if this sounds right. Over 40,000 children are enslaved in mines, digging with their bare hands under armed guard, earning cents on the dollar, risking their lives daily. 72% of Congolese people live on less than $2 a day. Is that hyperbole, or is that sounds right?
That sounds right.
So if that's the situation in the Congo, in DRC, and you mentioned the kids on this side and us using this technology, how do you value that? To me, there needs to be an entire change in the entire infrastructure and the institution of extracting the minerals. Like it needs to be totally turned on its head. Like this is an unjust system that is resulting in people being killed, children as well as adults, conflict. Like there's no way to fix that. Like amend that. You got to change the whole thing.
Well, and maybe I'm an idealist, but I really do think there's a way to fix that.
So what role do global powers have in that? So global powers, like you mentioned, the United States or the Western, China is heavily involved, Belgium, France. What role do they play in creating or sustaining, number one, creating these crises and sustaining these crises, but what role do they play in changing them?
So I love how you brought up this country. At the core of it, we are experiencing a fight between several of the major powers in the world. A fight for resources, a fight for geopolitical strength, and we are all being and when I say all, I will say Africans. We are all in the middle of a fight that's not ours. It's not. The current administration is talking about rare earth, sourcing rare earth around the world. It is And that comes at a cost of lives. We
Yeah.
can see the impact in Ukraine. We can see the impact in, now we're talking about Iran, for example. Do you want change to truly happen?
I mean, I don't think they do. I'm not an idealist. Like, I don't think any of these powers that we're talking about, and you mentioned, you know, when it comes to mining rights, corporate interests, the geopolitical alliances, the flow of the resources and what that means for all these countries that we just named, I don't see a real tenable, you know, path to them changing anytime soon, because the lives in the Congo don't matter to them.
Yeah, I think it comes from within.
From within Congo.
From within Congo,
Yeah.
a conscious of what we can do, because we actually have the product.
You do.
We do. We have the product. We have everything that you're looking for. We have everything that the rest of the world is looking for. What we don't have is the ability to defend ourselves, to defend the natural resources. And until our friends and allies in America realizes that we are being asked to give something and we can reluctantly say no, you would understand how difficult it is to build a country. We don't have a way to defend ourselves. So let me take it back for you.
Okay.
We are being in a sequence of successive ways to make sure that Africa is subservient. It started with colonization. Actually, let me take it back. It started with slavery. Then we had colonization, but I take it back to like the 1885 to 1905 when King Leopold was the king of the Free Congo states. Then after that, we had colonization, when it became not normal for one king to own a country, and the atrocities that we had in Congo, Western power figured out another way to maintain us as subservient: colonization. Then in the 60s, when we fought our ways with the emergence of the Lumumba, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Malcolm X, the Martin Luther King, when we fought our way for our freedom, they found another way to keep subservient, which became debt.
Debt.
Yeah. It's like you keep us in shackles.
Because basically, although there was independence technically from these colonizing powers, they still controlled the banking systems.
Correct.
For the countries that they used to colonize.
Correct.
So it's basically colonization by another name.
Yeah, you got to take it back too, like the World Bank, the United Nations, and all that.
Yeah.
All those bodies that governs the world. Do you think they have the best interest of African at heart, or were they institutionally built to meet the needs of the Western world? Those are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Yeah. Then let's take it back. Let's take it further. Then when debt was no longer, or was not so much of a way to maintain our countries in shackles, we created mercenaries. And mercenaries were paid contractors to go ensure that there was political instability into a country, so that we could have our hands on the wealth of that country.
Is that kind of what's going on now in Congo when you think about like Rwanda being a proxy and those sorts of things? Like there seems to be always this, like the Western countries, the countries obviously that are benefiting the most, don't want to be seen as being inhumane and as being disruptive of the independence of a certain country. So what they will do is fund another adjacent people group or country to create instability in an area that they want to still have access to, specifically when it comes to mining and getting these resources. Is that what you're speaking of? When
you jump ahead of me. Before there was mercenaries.
Yep.
Now we're creating proxy neighbors.
Okay.
in order to destabilize another country. And that's not new. But in that process, what are we doing? We're actually creating wars. We're creating wars on the back end to create alliances.
Okay.
So think about, for example, the war in Ukraine.
Okay.
There is a real reason why there is that war.
You said there is a real reason.
There is a real reason why there is
Okay.
that war. I can't sit here and speculate why that war exists. But what I know is that in order for that war to stop, our countries, the US, and other foreign countries have asked for access to some of Ukraine's natural resources. So maybe this is speculation, but when you pull back, why did that war exist in the first place? I mentioned earlier that this is a geopolitical war between countries that want to have access to natural resources and such. Find me of a country today that is at war, that is not resource rich.
That's a good question. I got to do some research on that one. Find a war today that has to do with countries that are not resource rich. Because there's no need to be fighting if there's nothing that we actually want.
Correct.
Well, why do you think, you mentioned Ukraine. Why do you think the conflicts there, like Ukraine, I mean, even Israel, Palestine, but I don't put that in the same, well, maybe we should put it in. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it should be in the same bucket as that. But why do you think those conflicts are receiving more global attention than the Congo, other than, I would say, the obvious being that it's the continent of Africa?
They have allies.
Those countries do.
They do. They have allies. They have people within the United States that are ingrained, that are part of the system, that are able to speak on their behalf.
Gotcha.
Which is, I applaud them for that. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
All I hope is that by tomorrow, in the next 20 years, 40, 50 years, my kids and kids of other members of the diaspora from Congo have created, have gained such influence that they can influence the policies in Washington, D.C., they can influence the policies in Paris or in Brussels. And at that point, we'll have a voice. But it's not until we get allies that can talk on our behalf that change truly happens.
Talk about the actual government of Congo, because a lot of the things that we hear when we do hear about the continent of Africa, a lot of the blame many times falls on the governments there and corruption. Is internal corruption? Why do we always focus on internal corruption? Like, it's about internal corruption, it's about rebel groups, all those sorts of things. Is that even an issue, or is that simply a byproduct of all the other things that we've been talking about?
Corruption is real, and there's a level and scales of corruption. There is also visible and invisible. There's institutionalized and non-institutionalized. I've talked about a system that exists that benefits someone. So I'm not going to sit here and say that our leaders in Congo or in the rest of the world are not to be blamed. I think we all carry our responsibilities into it. But let me ask you, which system are we protecting to this corruption? Where did we learn about this corruption? You are asking a country and leaders, and sorry, I'm not looking for excuses.
Yeah.
But we are in a very developed country with a strong administration, a strong justice system, and all that. Yet corruption still exists in the U.S.
True.
Is corruption existing in Congo or the rest of Africa? Is that by design?
It's by design, and it's by just, that's how people operate. Look, as you mentioned, there's corruption everywhere.
No doubt. But is it by design? Because you need corruption in order for the system to keep functioning as is. So it's one thing, and we have rules. We have Foreign Corruption Practices Act and all that in the U.S. that prevent American corporations from participating in corruptive practices in outside the U.S. But that doesn't stop us and prevent us from doing that. We figure out different ways. We do that through proxies. We don't do it directly.
Can you dig in on the proxy again? Because you kind of touched on it a little bit when you talked about Rwanda. Talk about the role of proxies, specifically as it relates to Congo in the last, I guess, whatever it's been, decades or so. Like what specifically is the role of the proxy for Congo and who is supporting them?
Yeah. So there is no doubt, and we can take lightly that the Tutsi minorities in Rwanda was victim of a genocide. It's documented. How it happened is not for me to discuss or to deny it. Something happened there. At the time, Congo welcomed the Hutu tribe of Rwanda because the political instability in the country was not optimal. It's this fight between those two tribes, the Hutu and the Tutsis, and because the Hutu, quote unquote, live in Congo now, that has given the Rwanda government the quote unquote freedom to come into Congo and foment wars.
Okay.
With the spirit of ridding Congo and Rwanda of those Hutus, because the Rwanda believe that the Hutus are part of the instability into Rwanda. But when you, and I totally understand where they're coming from. But when you start unpeeling and you start looking at the layers deeper and deeper, you start realizing that that situation actually benefits Rwanda and its supporters around the world because it gives them access to natural resources in Congo.
Because for people that aren't, up on the geography, Rwanda is adjacent to Congo, to DRC.
It's actually adjacent to Eastern Congo.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Rwanda doesn't have any of the resources that are in DRC, or do they have resources? They're just not tapped.
I can't sit here and say that Rwanda doesn't have those resources. Yeah. I'm not a geologist.
You don't know. Okay.
But what I can tell you is that
there's no access to them that we know of right now.
What I would tell you is that Rwanda is now an exporter of minerals that are primarily found in Congo.
Yeah. Okay.
How is that happening? How is that happening?
So Rwanda is benefiting from the resources. Western nations, ourselves included, United States, are benefiting. Are any of the resources staying in Congo? Like, is Congo receiving any benefit? I mean, we paint the picture of the kids. We understand, the 40,000 kids that are basically enslaved. It's probably more than that. Honestly, our numbers probably are not accurate. There's been hundreds of millions of Congolese that have been killed going back to colonization up until now. I mean, I saw a recent data point, and who know we can't really quantify how many, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but is Congo benefiting at all right now from its own resources?
I mean, we can talk about it in terms of pennies on the dollar. I'll give you an example. We are now starting to build the capabilities, but we don't have the ability to refine our minerals in the country. In other words, that it's extracted from the Congo, it's taken in Rwanda, it's taken to China, it's taken to other countries, it's refined there. So all the value add to the mineral is actually extracted into the other countries. Now, we may get pennies on the dollars through taxes, but we're not taxing all the resources that are living in the country. That's the first thing. We're not benefiting from the value add. We are not getting anything out of it.
So in essence, this is robbery.
Call it robbery. Also call it our inability to defend ourselves and defend our countries. And our inability to defend ourselves and defend our countries is by design.
So what needs to happen? You mentioned this. We need allies, but within Congo and within Congolese people, what do you see needing to happen internally so that when those allies are willing and able and ready, and you have this host of people around the world that are willing to speak up and talk about it, what needs to happen internally so that those two things synergize and we correct this injustice?
I think first we need to change the way we talk and portray the Congo, change our narratives. That's the first thing.
Within Congo?
Within Congo and within the rest of the world. We also need to understand how much Congo and several other countries in Africa contribute to the well-being of our lives here in America, in France, in China, and all that. Those are the first thing. Then we need to give the people of Congo the ability to defend themselves without weapons, to defend yourself. You are subjected to anybody's ill will. We've had embargoes on Congo's military ability to procure weapons. Why? You can't defend themselves.
Okay, stop.
Yes.
Because I hadn't heard that part yet.
Yes.
Who levied these embargoes? Is this from Brussels? This from like United Nations? Like who's
call it?
So all of these outside entities have placed embargoes on Congo's ability to build a military, to get weapons.
Correct.
Because obviously they don't want them fighting back when we take your minerals.
There is part of that, but they also probably don't want us to fight back their proxies. And that is a problem.
Wow. So for the U.S. and others, morally, diplomatically, economically, to begin, if we had the will in the United States to repair the harm that's been done in Congo, what would be our first steps?
As I've mentioned earlier, there is a difference between the U.S. government, the U.S. corporation, and the people of America.
Yeah.
I think it all comes to what you get for what you pay for. So we as Congolese, Africans, we need to change the value proposition and talk about it in economic terms. Right now, what we get for what we pay for is in the benefits of the Western world. We need to flip that where what we get for what we give up is in the benefit of is a win-win situation.
Yeah.
So we truly need to start talking to the corporations and the government in a win-win sense of way and in economic ways. As you can tell, most of the wars that are stopped in the world are usually following some treaties or some contracts that are signed between the two warring parties. And usually it involves some sort of compensation. Today, the president of Ukraine has no interest in the short term. It doesn't have the leverage right now to maximize the return for Ukrainians because Russia has the upper hand and will extract more out of them than if Ukraine was actually winning the war. We need to get into a position where we are winning the war, we are winning our wars, so that we have leverage to speak to Western world, Western corporation as equals. So how does that happen? We now need the heart of the American people.
It's the heart.
And the heart is who are we putting in power? And I'm not talking about liberal or Republicans. I'm talking about truly understanding what are the motivation of our leaders. How do we maintain our quote unquote American freedom? And we can't do that without the American people, because those are the ones, whether the American, the French, and all that, those are the ones that put our leaders in powers. Yeah. And our leader serves, whether we believe it or not, some interest.
But you talk about, the value proposition, and I agree, but I'm going to be honest, like from the economic standpoint, and you've got Americans, I'm just going to use our country because I don't know about France and Belgium, although they're in on this as well. But you've got people, global citizens that are enjoy their phones, enjoy their luxuries, enjoy all those sorts of things. Now, they may have a heart when they hear about what's happening in Congo. Part of them may say that's not right. There's an inherent form of justice, I think, that God placed in people when you see something that's not right. What I wonder about sometimes is the willingness to act and the willingness to perhaps sacrifice personally, collectively, as a country economically, what you built, what you're enjoying, once you're made aware of it, in order for someone else to benefit, in order for Congo, DRC as a country to have a more equal playing field, in order for children's lives to be saved. Like, we'll have a heart for that, but what are we willing to give up? Like, what are we willing to boycott? Are we willing to boycott Apple? I mean, I don't know that. Is that a practical step? Like, should we say, Apple, we're not messing with you guys until you speak up and speak out about what's happening in Congo? Like, do you see that as a legitimate step? I mean, I think if enough people do it, perhaps Apple would, or maybe it's, some other technology company, like whatever it is. I wonder, for me, speaking with you during these last 40 minutes and talking about what's happening, I know people are going to have a heart for this. I know people are going to say that's not right. But where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, is what are we willing to do to pull those levers? Have you seen, in your experience, where Americans have been willing to make that move, and what was that?
I have. And it's not a sacrifice that everybody is willing to take. But I have around me friends that have dedicated significant amount of resources to the Congo. And I truly believe that realistically, the thing that we can do today is bring awareness of what's happening so that we can change the heart. Until we are able to change the heart, we will not have access to the tools to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves. We will not have access, and we need to change the heart. I also believe that within Congo itself, diasporas like me or others, and we see a huge influx of young Congolese or Africans returning back to the continent, are able to share our story, but also come to the conversation tables with those corporations and the governments and start talking like equals. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not lost on me that every time, most of the times when African leaders have stood on the side of their people, that they've been eliminated.
Yeah.
And that is something that is ingrained into our conqueror's culture that needs to stop. As I mentioned before, if you want to hit at the heart of a culture, you eliminate the father. if you want to hit at the heart of countries that are growing, we tend to talk about our leaders in diabolic ways. And that needs to stop. To have continuity, we need continuity in leadership. To have continuity, we need leadership that's voted by the people, truly voted by the people, without any interference from foreign powers. And we're not asking anything different than what America is asking when we talk about, whether that's true or not, Russian intervention into the political cycle in America. We're asking for the same thing. Why can France, America, and all that be afforded benefits that are not being afforded to Africans? Why can Russian be the villain when that happens in America, while we do the same thing in countries in Africa or countries around the world? It's time that we start looking ourselves in the mirror and truly realize who we are.
That's what justice is.
Yeah.
Justice is even scales. It's the idea of fairness, being unbiased, of truth telling. And I think that's what you're saying. You're saying that there needs to be some truth telling. America is not perfect. Yes, we understand no country is, but America is not perfect. And we do ourselves a disservice when we paint ourselves that way, because then we feel like we have the moral high ground to look at other countries and look at their dysfunction without realizing our role in their dysfunction. And also, I think that part of there's the awareness piece, as you mentioned. Part of the awareness piece is for us to realize that it's not a zero-sum game. Like, just because there can be equal trade with Congo and you can benefit from the resources that you're providing, and not just Congo, but other places on the continent, it doesn't mean that we in the West are losing. Like, we can have our iPads and we can have our phone, we can have all these sorts of things and still pay fair market value to the countries where we're getting them from and have fair trade. It's like we feel like we got to be in power in order to keep everybody else down and keep this sort of order. And what I'm hearing from you, and also I would say what I've been hearing just publicly from a lot of people more recently, is that there is a growing awareness, not just about what's happening in the Congo, but other places where there's injustice. And I think that there is starting to be a swell of people who feel like this is not right. As we get ready to close, like, for those people that are right there on the edge, like they've heard this, they've seen some of the memes, or they've seen some of the posts, they've read some of the facts about what's happening, they're hearing some of the history, they see the children, they understand the instability, all these sorts of things. It doesn't seem so far away now. What you've done is you've brought it a little bit closer to these people. What should they do right now while this is still fresh? What do you say to those folks?
I would say it's not about what you can do. It's about actually the realization of where we are. You can't continue you can only for so long continue to rule with an iron fist. At some point, that iron fist is going to be broken. And it's not going to benefit you. There are also other countries that are becoming smarter than America and becoming viable trading partners. And our strength and the way we project our strengths around the world won't be there for long. And maybe we won't see it, but our kids will probably see it. And if we are truly about living a better future for our kids, then I think Americans today owe it to themselves if they want their kids to have the same freedom that they've had. to enter into strong partnership with, or healthier partnership with the rest of the world or those developing countries. Because in the long term, that won't be there. So that's what I want you guys to realize. And
that there's actually an economic incentive.
yes, there is.
Because things are shifting, and whether we like it or not, there is an, I don't know if I want to use the term awakening, but for lack of better, like there's an awakening or something that's happening on the continent. We're seeing it in other parts of the continent where there's alliances that are being built together. People realizing, okay, we're not going to be pressured or controlled by these colonizing powers anymore. We realize what we have internally. So economically, business-wise, there is an incentive outside of the humanitarian piece of it and the heart. There's an economic incentive for America to start to view Congo and the continent in a different way.
Correct. The only other thing I would like to close with, and this is about giving hope to my people in Congo and the rest of Africa, is just like MLK had a dream. I do have a dream that one day it will not take a kid like me will not be quote unquote forced to leave Africa to pursue his education somewhere else. Because in that process is the biggest brain drain that is taking place, and the people resources of Congo being taken away from us. I also have a dream that those of us that have come here into America will have the opportunity and the incentives to go back into the country to make a difference. The Jewish state, Israel, was built not only by the spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation from the people in the country, but also from the support of its diaspora that returned and went to make a difference. I truly believe that Africa, Congo, is on the cusp of change. So for those of my brothers that are here in the U.S., or Congolese brother and all that are in the U.S. or in other parts of the country, I vividly remember when I first left the country, my dad was told me, Michel, wherever you go there, only keep the good that I've taught you. Be wise enough to leave the bad behind you. And when you're going over there, only pick up the good and bring that back to Congo, because one day you'll be the difference maker. I hope that's true for the rest of my people. I hope that's what we're focusing on. I hope we're focusing on building allies. And I can't thank you enough for giving me the chance today to speak about something that is personal to me. I did not speak on behalf of the Congolese. I share with you my personal story and my personal view of the world. And it's my hope that it was able to provide a different picture of Congo, of Africa, to those that were not aware of its important role in the global landscape.
You did that, brother. I appreciate your story, your willingness to speak. This can't be easy. It's not my experience, but there are others that have had similar experiences to you. And one thing as we wrap, personally, like there's trauma from being in a country, leaving the country, going to another place to be educated, not being able to do that back home because of different reasons, coming to the United States, going back as you have several times, having this, I don't know if I want to call it a burden, but somewhat of a positive burden to help and to do things. How have you dealt with that, living in multiple worlds? How have you dealt, and also not being understood in many ways because you're from different worlds? How have you dealt with that? And if you have, what advice do you give to others that not only want to understand you, but others who may have gone through or going through similar feelings of being kind of lost? And I mean, even in the intro, you mentioned you live here, but your heart is somewhere else.
Yeah.
How do you work that out?
Ben, you've given me a chance to open a mouth that has been mute for years. I've internalized all my feelings and bottled them up. I always tell my kids, you earn the right to talk by the things that you do. And I'm not sitting here and saying that I've earned that right to talk. You've actually given me an outlet to freely say what I've believed. And that is therapeutic. That is therapeutic. Because bottling the pain, having this feeling of being muted, is showcasing itself from me in this therapeutic conversation. But for others, and I wouldn't say I've never thought about it, but for others, it either ends up in physically hurting themselves, physically destroying the environment that they are in. And I mean, we can just go to like LA, for example, today. The immigrant population is voicing years of hurt. Years and years of hurt. They're not just breaking things. What they're telling us is, I was born in this country. Or even if I wasn't born in this country, I've contributed to the growth of this country. I've paid taxes here. And the worst thing that we can do as people is having people bottle their feelings. Because at some point, just like I say, you can rule with an iron fist. The ceiling will crack. And that is the most dangerous place to have a human being be into. So like I say, thank you again for giving me this place to speak, to share my voice.
Yeah.
And there will be a day when 115 million Congolese will wake up. And we're waking up. And that, my friend, is when we realize our power, we're probably going to be the most dangerous people to deal with because we've been oppressed for too long.
Wow. Man, thank you. Thank you again for sharing your story. Thank you for being open and honest, for speaking with courage. This podcast is called The Just Life. And our hope is to, uncover, expose problems of injustice. And this is an issue of injustice that is being exposed more and more and more. And you've exposed more of it today. We want to engage with change makers. You are making a difference. You are a change maker. And also explore ways for us to all live more justly. And we've done that through this conversation. So thank you. The last question we ask everybody, the just life means what to you? So for Michel Lusakueno, the just life means?
That one is hard. So my mom was 2 years old when she was taken from Kinshasa, and which is on the western side of Congo, and brought to the north of Congo. And the reason she was is because, and that's something I've never shared with you, my great-grandfather fought colonialism, and his name was Simon Kimbangu. And through that came a religion in Congo that's called Kimbanguism. And because we fought colonialism, my great-grandfather fought colonialism, he paid the price. He was taken from his country, put in jail, and died at the end of colonial powers. So what does a just world mean?
What's the just life?
Yeah, a just life means that a child like my mom or a child like me does not have to be unjustly impacted because of the action and desires of others, whether it's to wanting to accumulate more wealth, wanting to have more influence in the world. A just world can be seen in the eyes and the suffering of kids. And a just world will take place the day our kids are not being taken away from their parents, forced to be in other parts of the world because their grandfather was fighting colonialism. And that's what to me is a just world. I long for that day. I long it for you. I long it for your kids. I long it for my kids. That's what a just life looks like for me.
Michel, thank you, brother.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.